Right, hello everyone. Sorry for that short delay, but we are ready to get started. So, welcome to this tournament live stream. This is from the Alpine Swift ABCs, which is one of our newest tournaments that we've got from the Wingspan Tournaments Discord, featuring the brand new European expansion. So, very exciting. Lots of new birds, lots of new bonus cards and strategies, and all of that. So, yeah, it should be very exciting. Today in this match we have Oakie and Tay-ray. So this is from, I believe, round 2 of the Alpine Swift ABCs. And joining me on commentary is Heartseed. So welcome, Heartseed. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Thanks, Flan. Flan here is a Planet X expert, but he also dabbles in the European expansion, and no one seems to be able to beat him. So, yeah.
Well, you
He has
say that, but I
commentary.
have already lost my first round match in this tournament. So I think saying that I
That's
dabble,
okay. Generally,
saying that I dabble is a fair comment. But yeah, I think
Mm.
that's enough about us. We are ready to get started with this stream. So Oki is going to be going first in this first match of this best of 3. So yeah, Oki, if you could send an invite out and we will get started. So as always, best of luck to both of our players. Hopefully we have a good match in store.
Oh, hello. Saw Towie there.
Did indeed. So yeah,
Mm.
pretty bland starting hand. We're looking for all these new exciting European expansion
Yeah.
birds, and we just get 5 base game birds. So
Honey Buzzard, though.
Honey Buzzard
but-
in the tray. Honey Buzzard in the tray is at least exciting. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good start for Oki. You know,
It is.
you look for a wetland bird and a forest bird, and I think they've got everything they need there to have a good start.
So much flexibility. You get the
Yep.
egg-laying fun for the end of round goal, and
Right.
also the Mergangster. It's like you're gonna get at least 90 points with this, unless you have really bad card draw. I would
Yeah,
say. So,
I think it
yeah.
certainly sets up for a good start. You know, the Merganser's just really good. I think being able to get those extra cards. I think certainly my experience, just from the few games I have played from the European expansion since it's come out, having that good card draw early on is so important. You know, the deck itself is bigger with all these new expansion birds, so being able to dig through the deck that little bit quicker, you know, with this power from the Merganser being able to draw 2 and keep one of them, it's just so strong. So that's always a good start.
Yeah, good old Mergangster.
Yeah.
Too powerful.
Yeah, certainly a strong start. And yeah, I mean, the Nuthatch as well, you know, works very nicely for this first end of round goal with the cavity nest, and obviously, you know, one of those strongest forest birds as well, being able to get the cached food. Yeah, I think no surprises really. This is a pretty straightforward keep. I guess the question really is going to be, you know, do you go for the Tauhi in the tray? I think it is a really strong bird, and you know, potentially looking at the bonus card options as well might help for the enclosure builder. So, you know, is that something? Would you go straight for the Tauhi? Would you pick that up on your first turn?
I would, and I think Oki is as well, because if we're looking at his food count, unless he wants to just take one food, like he might as well, you know, play his bird and also lay eggs and take the food for free.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward. Like you say, you can keep that seed in the starting hand. You can use that to play the Tauhi, and you know you probably want to lay eggs before you do draw cards. Just gets you that extra card
what do
as
you
well.
think of this idea with the grasshopper sparrow?
Yeah, I did wonder that as well. I mean, I do really like the grasshopper sparrow, and I think
Generally, yeah.
it's you know, being able to get those extra eggs. It's only a single food. Again, if they're going for that enclosure builder bonus card, that's really nice. So yeah, it's a bit of, you know, maybe slowing down things a little bit, because if you're keeping 3 birds, you only keep 2 food. So you kind of slow you maybe 1 or 2 more turns to get some of these birds down.
Food for free, yeah.
Right, right.
1 turn. So.
I think that's the thing. But to be honest, you know, that's not too much of a problem. I think in most cases in Wingspan, you find you might have to draw that single food first anyway. But oh, there we go. I was looking at the bonus cards wrong. He doesn't even have enclosure builder. It was platform or large birds. So large birds probably make sense. The Merganser already fits that. So Just needs a few more. But here we go. We have Tay-ray's hand, and
Whoa.
that's quite nice as well. Again,
Yeah.
very, very base game heavy, but a solid forest bird and a solid wetland bird. I think two pretty good options. So
Good
yeah,
bonus card too. Do you like Bird Bander? Do you think it's reliable or?
I I quite like it. I think yeah, it's one of those where I find I either don't score any points or I can easily get 6 or 8 points or even more than that. So yeah, it's an interesting decision there. But I think certainly the birds here, the keep, the blackbird and the flycatcher, pretty straightforward to go for that. And yeah, those other three white powers, potentially maybe coming into play later in the game. I don't think those are the kind of birds that you'd look to keep at the start.
Yeah, I mean, I might keep the Warbler if I go Bird Bander. Just kind of
Yep.
like if you don't like it, you can just get rid of it, right?
Right.
So,
Right. And I
yeah.
guess as well, with the flycatcher, you're going to be getting a lot of worms with that. So playing something like the Warbler is going to be a lot easier than it ordinarily would be. So yeah, I wouldn't blame Tay-ray too much if he does keep the Warbler, but equally, I don't think it's a must keep. I think in this situation, with the way this hand is set up, I think the flycatcher is going to go down straight away. That's why they're keeping the cherry and the worm. And then if they're going to go for food, they can already get the food for the blackbird in that single turn gaining food. So you can afford to keep that extra bird, I think, in the starting hand, and it's not going to hold you back too much because you can still get these forest and wetland birds down pretty quickly in that first round.
Another thing to consider is like usually when you keep a card, it's usually you trade it for one food, right?
Exactly.
So that could
Exactly.
be good. But if you have a bird like the flycatcher, sometimes that one card can give you the opportunity to get 2 food that you wouldn't
Right.
already have because you can manipulate bird feeder more. So
Absolutely.
I don't know. It's generally safer.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I think you have a bit more flexibility there. But yeah, so we do see Tay-ray did keep the bird bander there. So this is one of those new bonus cards we've got in the European expansion. So yeah, birds living in multiple habitats. I think generally, yeah, like I mentioned before, it's pretty good bonus card. I think
what is this? Gray leg
grey.
goose.
Oh, the grey leg goose. No.
I was curious.
Yeah, the grey leg goose. So that's one of these new teal powers. It counts double towards end of round goals, but it only works for some of them. And I know a lot of players kind of get caught up a little bit in terms of working out which ones it does work for and which ones it doesn't.
Okay.
So yeah, I actually don't mind the grey leg goose. I think it gets a lot of flack purely because there aren't many end of round goals that it works for, but it is still decent point scoring.
Yeah, I mean, even if
yeah.
it helps you with one of them, it's already paid for.
Well,
so,
exactly. That's my view, and certainly, I think that last one, birds with no eggs, it would work for that, so it might come into play then. But yeah, I don't expect either player will be rushing to pick it up straight away. But I guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting that he grabbed both forwards.
Yeah, so I'm imagining what Tay-ray's going to do here. They'll probably lay eggs on the flycatcher and then play that warbler in the forest. So then that gets the egg on the flycatcher. That's going to help for the end of round. But then also, I think just getting out to that 2 food, from the forest on its own, and then obviously the third from the flycatcher. I think that's nice. That's a nice option to have. So yeah, wouldn't be too surprised if that's what they're going to do and just get some of that extra food.
I like it. That's good play.
Yeah.
Efficient.
And I think taking those 2 worms, I think maybe messed up a little bit with Oakie's plan. They had to use the worm to play the nuthatch early on in this round, and then now, they've got that Merganser, and they'll obviously want to play that just to kind of get that wetland started, be able to get some good card draw. But yeah, with no worms, they're going to have to hope that Tay-ray's going to reset this and get multiple worms, because obviously that flycatcher, that's going to take a single worm from the feeder. So
he still has the flexibility of getting rid of his grasshopper sparrow.
He does, yeah. and I don't know. I think at this point he might still be looking to play the sparrow, with that seed that he's just got. from the Tauhi, that wouldn't surprise me too much.
I think it's just a bit greedy, but we'll see. It could pay off.
Yeah. Right, that looked to me like it was a timer bug. So
Yeah.
I thought they'd fixed that because I haven't experienced the timer bug at all in the European expansion. So I wasn't sure if that kind of got swept in with all the other updates that they made. But yeah, so whenever you see that kind of online error, screen of death, that's never a good sign. So I'll just make sure that Tay-ray knows that that he's timer bugged and needs to log out and log back in. But yeah, while this is actually quite a convenient little break in the play, so just for any of our newer viewers, we actually have a new tournament sign up which opened earlier today. So if you would like to take part, maybe you haven't taken part in tournaments before, or maybe you're just kind of looking to branch out a bit and get a bit more experience with the game and the European expansion, then come and join us. There's a link in the video description to join the tournament's Discord, and you can join this new tournament. So this is going to be starting probably in about a week or so. But yeah, sign-ups are open now, so definitely check that out if that's something you're interested in. All right, looks like Tay-ray knows what's going on. He's been timer bugged many a time before. There we go.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, I think for Tay-ray, pretty straightforward. They'll go for the food here, and really it's just about hoping for that worm on the reroll. You're pretty likely to get it, and there we go. So we do have a couple of worms.
Nice.
I'll be curious to see if he takes both. I think that's probably the play I would go for, and it certainly looks like that's what he's doing. So Oakie will be very delighted to see the worms, and then absolutely gutted to see them disappear so quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the bird feeder, the situation it's in right now, you can't even discard the sparrow and try and get that reroll for the worm. So this is potentially really slowing down Okie's tempo a bit. It felt quite natural, I think, that early game. Like we said, you get the nuthatch and the tauhi and the merganser down. I think just by keeping that sparrow and kind of not being able to keep that extra food, it has certainly slowed down a little bit. But
it's a big risk.
Yeah, I think it looks like to me what they're going to do is just try and force it down. So they've got those 2 seeds, they can use that in place of the worm, and really they just need those extra cards. And I think once they can start discarding some of these eggs, getting extra cards, and obviously drawing some more cards with the merganser's power itself, that's going to really help them going forward. And yeah, that's also just going to give them more cards to discard and hopefully get a bit more food.
Fun. Do you have actually, because he's keeping the grasshopper sparrow?
I think so.
Played it and then got the 2.
Yeah.
So you'd be like full on eggs.
I would have
know.
played it earlier. I think what Oakie was doing was waiting and seeing on the bird feeder. So I think if they could have discarded it and gone for the reroll and got the worm, I think that's potentially what they would have looked at doing. But just the way the bird feeder rerolls have happened, it has kind of slowed down the tempo. And yeah, I would still keep the sparrow. I think it's nice. One of the problems that you do sometimes have with it is running out of egg space. But they've got plenty of egg space. That merganser's helping out a lot, and obviously the tauhi. So they're going to have lots of space, and also at the moment they've obviously got that option to discard eggs and get some extra cards in the wetlands. So yeah, I would be playing the sparrow and hopefully trying to get some more extra eggs and just score some more points that way.
I think what I meant is that since he was already being greedy and was being punished for it, I was wondering what you thought of actually putting the sparrow down before the merganser. It's very risky, but it's also like, because the merganser is a pretty big draw in cards anyway. So you're seeing the cards later, which is a big deal. It's pretty bad, but you're also getting a lot of points out the gate and preparing for the rest for the next end of round goal primarily. So
yes, yeah. I think I still would have played it. When they had the seeds, because now they're either gonna have to get food or lay eggs once more to get that seed to play the sparrow, and then you are potentially missing out on some points there. But maybe they draw something better. They obviously have good access to cards here through the merganser, so maybe a tucking bird or something like that is going to come up, and that's when you kind of maybe grateful that you were patient and waited a little bit to see what else you could get from the deck.
Yeah. Buzzard. Honey buzzard. It's still in the...
It is
no
still
one's
there.
taken it yet. Yeah.
No, I don't mind it for oakie. I think, I like the
Well,
honey
he
buzzard
doesn't.
just as a second kind of filler bird in the forest. It works with their bonus card, and yeah, I think getting extra worms in between the rounds is always nice. So
Yeah.
I would certainly have looked at it, but equally, I don't think it's a complete missed opportunity by not taking it. I think they've got some decent pickups from the deck.
Yeah, I think it synergizes with his Tauhi really well. Even if he
Exactly.
doesn't get it for round 1,
Yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
getting 2 of the major foods. So.
Yeah, good point. Good point. You can almost kind of ignore the forest at that point. I think if you're able to get some seeds from the grass and when you're laying eggs, and then grab
Just
those
1 or 2
worms.
are fruit.
Exactly. If
Yeah.
you get a few worms in between each round, then that's always nice. I don't think you can be too disappointed with that.
The Grackle is a very good draw though
Yeah.
for him with the Merganser. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the power of these kind of tuck and lay birds, I see them a lot stronger now in the expansion than I did before in the base game. I think generally there's a lot of birds in the expansion as well that allow you to draw lots more cards from the wetlands. So I think being able to turn those into points in the grasslands is always nice. So
your little friend showed up
I
right
did
at the end. And
very
disappeared.
briefly.
Yeah.
So no one got the
Just
chance.
remind you it's there.
Yeah, it is still there. But here we go. We have round 2. So Tay-ray going first in this round 2, and I think pretty smart. They picked up the Willet. They already had the worm for that, so I think the Willet's pretty good filler bird in the wetland. Now they don't have to discard those eggs. They get the guaranteed 2 points from the blackbird and potentially something from the hunting power on the Willet as well. So yeah, I think this is smart from Tay-ray. I like what they've been doing here.
Yeah, because it's good for their egg generation, which they don't have a grassland yet, and they're probably looking at the Tauhi. They're like, I'm probably not going to win that in round 2, so.
Yeah, I
Just
think
give it up, right?
Exactly. And when it comes to end of rounds, I think being able to recognize where you have a chance of winning and where your opponent is just going to dominate you, I think that's so important. And like you say, you look at what Oakie's got set up. They've got all of these egg spaces, and respectable egg generation as it is, but certainly if they are going to look to get maybe this grackle or the grasshopper sparrow down, that's just going to give them even more eggs. So I think Tay-ray, they just need to get one bird in this grasslands, maybe lay eggs once, but like you say, I think with the blackbird that's going to help just get a little bit more egg generation and score points while they're drawing cards. And drawing cards is so important. Being able to kind of go through that deck and hopefully find something good, I think that's really what Tay-ray needs to start doing.
Yeah, 2 amazing birds for Oakie right here. The wood stork is affordable with the free grain.
Yep, and you look at the bird feeder, it's got the fish and the rodent in there already, so you could easily go for food, and like you say, you lay eggs and get the seed, and then you go for food, you get the other 2 food you need. I think he can pretty easily get that down, works with the bonus card, so yeah, that's certainly one I would be looking at.
The Tig goes right after, so we'll see if he reveals anything.
Yeah, now I saw in the chat pointed out that the Northern Harrier would be a good option for Tay, and I agree. Obviously, works with the bonus card. I think it's a good grassland bird.
It's always a good one.
But
it's
potentially
too good for Oakie though.
Yeah, I think exactly Oakie. I think it's a good option for them because it can go in either of the grassland or the wetland, and really they need something in both of those habitats. So I think they've got a bit of flexibility here, which is nice. So I think makes sense. They try to get that down. I'll be interested to see if they still go for the Woodstalk, but
I like the Woodstalk.
I think it's good because it works for the next end of round goal as well, and they will need to think a little bit about that. They have got a couple of white powers, the Flicker and the Oyster Catcher. They might look to play those as a pretty good birds in the right situation. So they may need to think a little bit about the end of round goal there.
In principle, the Oyster Catcher is not that good for Oakie because it's 2 of the resources he lacks.
Right.
And it's providing a resource that he has a lot of, and Tay is not doing too hot in. Because Tay can only keep 1 card, right? So
yes,
big deal.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. No, I think the oyster catch it's not bad because you do kind of get to look at three and you keep the best one, and then you obviously get that extra one after. But
Ooh.
yeah,
Plan, what is this?
so
Mute
we have
Swan.
we've got a couple of new expansion birds. So the mute swan is one that I know Tay-ray has a lot of strong opinions on. So um, yeah, I like it. I think the mute swan's really good. So the power it has, it lets you tuck up to 3 cards from your hand, and then if you do, you get to draw one from either the tray or the deck. So it helps with that card cycle. It helps with point generation, and I see some people, I think Tay-ray included, kind of look at this as a kind of bird that you only play if you're going for a real pure full tuck wetlands where that's all you're doing is drawing cards. But I think it's really good in this situation because it's going to help even more with that card cycle and point scoring. And, if you're scoring maybe 4 or 5 points at the same time as drawing cards, it's a lot of flexibility to have.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Tay agrees with you. So.
I wonder if he wouldn't have taken that if I wasn't here watching this game. I think he might have left it, but I think it's a good pickup. And the way his forest is set up at the moment, he can get 3 food. If he goes for food and gets lucky on the reroll with the worm, he can get that mute swan down straight away. So
yeah.
I think that's what he'll be going for. But at the same time, he does kind of need to have an eye on this end of round goal. At the moment he hasn't got anything in that grasslands. So it's this point of, okay, he's probably not going to win the end of round goal, but you might need to still think about trying to qualify for it, because if you don't have any eggs in your habitats to qualify for this, then you're not going to score any points. And I think that's always a bit of a risk, but it might make sense for Tay-ray to do that if they can prioritize getting some other birds like the mute swan down and hopefully scoring some more points.
I think if he drew a bird that he would play in the grassland, I think he would have kept it and went with it. But since he didn't, he wants to get that mute swan down so he can actually keep 2 cards.
Yeah.
Or I mean, he can, but yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I think he kind of went for the card from the deck, see what it is. Okay, I'm not interested, so I know I can safely pick up the mute swan and tuck whatever else I picked up. But yeah, that's a good reroll. Lots of worms for Tay-ray, so he'll be very happy. And potentially Oakie might be happy as well. I think he's been looking for some worms. Maybe I don't know if he's going to try and get this swift or this grasshopper sparrow down as well. But I think he's certainly got the makings of a nice grassland engine here that's going to help score lots of points. And obviously the Towhee as well, getting food is so nice. So it kind of feels like it might be a bit of a grassland versus wetland battle, which is always interesting.
Yeah, well, he looks like he has the swift, the grackle, and the sparrow.
Yep.
So which
Lots
one
of
of
options.
these do you like the most?
I think the grackle is a really good play. I don't know, the swift is better than the grackle because it has that extra flexibility. You can put the egg wherever you want. You're not going to be in danger of filling up so quickly as you are with the grackle. The drawback is that he's not got that worm. So
you're saying the grackle is the most economic for him?
I think the grackle's what I would have gone for. Like we talked about before, this sparrow was a good keep when he had it, but I think you give yourself the option to draw more cards and look at more cards from the deck and see if you get something better. And I think for me, that grackle was a better option. So I would have looked at going for the Harrier. You then lay eggs, you get a second siege from the Towhee. That gives you the food to play the grackle. You can get that down. Now when you're laying eggs, you're getting tuck cards, you're maybe getting some more tuck cards through the Harrier. I think that would have been a really good option. But I don't think this is bad either. I think the grasshopper sparrow, they could afford it. They had the food. It's pretty cheap. So looking like going for the Harrier as well, which I think that's a good move for Oakie. And for Tay-ray, unsurprisingly, the mute swan has gone down. So at this point for him, I think it is just going to be about running that wetlands. He can look at discarding the eggs that he's getting from the blackbird, and hopefully get some good birds from the deck. Now the swift, I think that's potentially a good option. He's going to get lots of worms through the forest power that he has. Being able to discard those and get some extra tucks.
Would you tuck all of them?
I think I would.
Yeah,
I'm saying really nice things about the Swift, but I think I probably still would tuck it. The Goshawk is probably the one that I would look at keeping, and it doesn't surprise me that Tay is kind of thinking about that.
not for like usually I like those kinds of
Mm.
birds, but if you're looking at his card economy versus his
Yes.
food economy, it's in this isolated situation, it's not so clear. Yeah.
No, I think if he had more card draw, so I think it's one of those where maybe you keep it just because maybe
'Cause
down
it's
the
good.
line. Well, it's good. It works with the next end of round goal particularly. It scores lots of points. I think you're right. I think there are situations where it's better, where you have more cards and maybe not so much food. Maybe if Oki drew this card, it would be much better for him. But I think it's still pretty good for Tay. He kind of just needs that extra wetland bird, and who knows,
You got
black
it.
chinned hummingbird.
Yep,
Elsie's
qualifies.
favorite card comes up. So yeah, I think he can. I think he's still got enough turns here to maybe get that down. Ooh, he's decided against it.
Okay.
I did wonder,
So
if
he's
that
given up
was
on this, then yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think he's still. If he's going to make the Goshawk work, he needs more cards. So at the moment, if he draws cards, he can discard an egg and draw 3. They're all going to get tucked behind the swan, and then he's going to draw another one. But then that gets tucked behind the blackbird. So he's not actually gaining any cards on the turns when he's drawing cards. They're all getting turned into points. So I think he kind of needs that extra, maybe like something like the Merganser that Oki's got, or something that just helps extend it out, help you get that extra card drawing. That's really what Tay-ray needs at the moment, because at the moment that Goshawk is really nice. You can tuck a couple of cards behind it instead of paying the food cost, but he's not got any cards to tuck, so it's a bit of a shame at the moment.
I might have, depending on the state of the bird feeder, I might have went for a wood stork. But yeah, I don't know.
Possibly.
It's not a priority.
No,
right?
I mean even that red knot works as well. So that also gives a bonus card. It's one of the ones from the expansion, so it gives you 1 bonus card, and then you get to draw 3 bird cards and keep one of them, so you can see the power there. And with all those worms, I think that Tay-ray is getting from the forest, it's not a bad option, but he'll need to think carefully about this, because at the moment, like I said, he's kind of not actually generating any cards in the wetlands. But I think it's just a case of keep tucking, because he's scoring points. He's getting 3 tuck cards from the swan, he's getting another one from the blackbird, and potentially some cash food on that willet. So he's getting at least 4 points, maybe 5 if he's lucky. And in the second round, I think that's a pretty good point scoring engine. I think you take that 4 points. We see Oki's also getting 4, maybe 5 points from their grasslands. So I think it's a good position to be in. And if Tay-ray can just kind of keep cycling through this, maybe drawing some more cards, seeing what he can get, hopefully something better comes up, and then he can really look to maximize more from this wetlands.
Definitely think the red knot or the wood stork would have been good, considering the end of round goals.
Yeah, I mean they're still there, so if he is interested, he can still go for them. Obviously by leaving them, you give your opponent a chance to maybe go and pick them up instead. But I think it's one of those where you see your opponent not take it, and you think, okay, they're clearly not that interested, because if they were interested, they'd have gone for it. So
it's just if he gets it and play it earlier, then
exactly, that's
he'll
the
save
thing.
eggs, which are his. He's not gonna, even if you draw good cards in round 3, they're going to be hard to play a lot of them, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. He kind of needs a bit more egg generation, and you're right. At the moment, he is losing that every turn. But here we go. Oki is going for food. So I wonder if this oyster catcher is going to go down. They've gone for the worms, maybe the Swift as well. They've certainly got some options. Obviously, the oyster catcher is that white power, so it's going to help for the next end of round. And it helps with the bonus card as well, gets them 1 more towards that lower threshold. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do try and get that down. But you're right, it is kind of one of these birds that is going to help your opponent as well, which you have to be careful about. And Tay-ray, that's kind of unsurprising. It's just going to be more of this, more of the same. Keep cycling through. Hope you get something good. He's looking at 4 cards a turn, which I think is pretty nice. So you'd expect that before too long he's going to find something good. But It's easy to get frustrated. I find I get quite frustrated in this position where you keep drawing and drawing and drawing and not getting the cards you're looking for.
I mean, what would you be looking for here? Like, there's only so much you can ask for, right? But
yeah, I mean, something like that Wilson snipe. I think I'd probably be looking for that. Just something that gets you extra cards. I think that's the problem for Tay-ray at the moment. Is like we said, they're kind of only drawing 3 and then they're tucking 3 as well. Which is a bit of a shame. So they kind of need just something. I think even that black-chinned hummingbird would have been good. I am kind of surprised they didn't keep that. I guess, obviously it's risky because if you're giving food to your opponent, particularly when they're already generating a different kind of food, whenever they lay eggs, you kind of, you want to be careful.
I wonder why he would be just looking for Wilson snipe type birds, though, because it kind of made sense to me to go.
Yeah,
not or wood stork.
I don't think he's,
or even the green heron. Like, I thought it was too late, but like,
I don't think he's just looking for those kind of birds, but I think something with a brown power that actually generates you something. It's still, relatively early in the game. We're getting into round 3. It is the kind of time when I would start thinking about playing, something else, like the wood stork or the red knot. I think in round 2 you're kind of looking for those. Those birds that are going to help with those brown powers, because if you're doing a lot of activations, that's certainly what you're looking for. But yeah, good tray I think here for Oakie. That violet green swallow is probably kind of the missing piece in this grasslands, that kind of tucking bird that helps with the card cycle. So I think pretty straightforwardly they can go for cards here, and they might not even need to draw cards again. If they look to get this violet green swallow down, that just gives them that little bit of card cycle, and obviously scoring lots of points as well while also getting food. So certainly a nice option.
He has a lot of things that
he does.
Crabs.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, he has a lot of cards in general and a lot of options. I'm looking at that tree creeper that he's got in his hand. So this is one of those birds where. It goes in the forest, and then whenever you gain cards, or gain food, you can play another bird if you discard an egg. So, we've already said before, Oakie's got lots of eggs, lots of very good, lots of easy access to eggs. He's going to want to be laying lots of eggs anyway, because it helps with the point scoring and the food generation.
We were actually worried that he was going to overflow on
exactly. And so that's where something like the tree creeper is kind of perfect, because it's going to use up those eggs that you were already kind of maybe filling up on a bit. It's going to help play some more forest birds, particularly something like this warbler. You can play that whilst gaining food, so you save a turn there. You don't have to spend 1 turn gaining food and then 1 turn playing the bird. You can do that all in one action. So I think there might still just about be enough time to play it and get use out of it. But obviously, like we said, it is kind of getting closer into this sort of late game where you want to be just laying eggs and scoring points, or playing big point birds. So I think if you're Oakie, you kind of want to prioritize finalizing off this grassland, but the food is right there for the tree creeper. So I would certainly consider going for that food and maybe trying to get it down.
Yeah, it might pay for itself, because at this rate, if he went for pure grassland, he would not have the space.
Exactly.
Even if he puts down your what's it called, the omnivore egg space,
the gallinule.
Yeah, the gallinule. Yeah, that wouldn't even cut it. So
nope. Yeah, I think I don't know. I think you're right. It potentially does pay for itself, even if you just play a couple of birds. And I think maybe that warbler is going to be the one that goes down. I think if there were 2 worms, I think he might have looked to go for the 2 worms and then, use the worms to play the violet green swallow. But I think it's just the way this has worked out with the food and the bird feed. It's just not quite worked out nicely for Oakie.
That's true.
Okay, and Tay-ray, unsurprisingly, just going straight for the cards. So they did play the vulture. On the previous turn, which I don't mind. I think you look at the Northern Harry that Oakie's got. We know, or we can expect, that he's going to be laying lots of eggs with that Harry. So obviously, if he does get some successful activations, he'll get some free food through the turkey vulture, which that's always not nice. Bad. I don't think you can complain too much about a bit of free food. So not too much to complain about.
Okay. Just going for that. That's
Ooh, and not a great pickup on the bonus card. Ordinarily omnivore expert, one of the stronger ones, but when you pick up this late in the game and you don't really have, they've obviously got that Gallinule. Yeah, it's quite expensive.
He's gonna play the Gallinule, though, I think, right? It's very...
Maybe.
All he needs is a cherry. All he needs is a cherry, and then it's free.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If he can get the cherry on the reroll, if he does go for food, then
or even if he brute forces it, he only has to do one brute force, and then it's free egg space.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think you're right. I think it is good. I think it is good for the egg space, like you say. If he is going to just try and lay eggs for the rest of this game, and try and score points that way, then absolutely you're going to need a bit of egg space, or you're really going to run into problems.
And I think omnivore is a pretty informed decision too, because anything that's omnivore can be paid for with wheat. So
exactly. Yeah,
perfect.
I think the more flexibility, the better. Certainly for Oakie there, but yeah, interesting here for Tay. So they did pick up another wetland bird, so they've got that black tern, and they've chosen to keep it for now. So I wonder if they're kind of just gambling that maybe they get a little bit of free food from that turkey vulture, or I mean, even they can just go for food themselves and try and play it. But I think really they would have been hoping to get enough cards for this Goshawk, and certainly when you see Oakie play the second white power bird in the Warbler, you want to try and get something down to try and tie. But I think it might be a bit of a struggle here for Tay.
No, he has the turns to at least tie. He'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he does. He'll have to do some more skips. So potentially that might be one reason to keep the turn. You're skipping the tucks that you could have had from the Swan, but then you get them back anyway if you are going to play that Goshawk through using the birds there. But yeah, I think that's probably what Tay-Ray's going to try and do. If you can tie this end around goal, that's always nice. So I think that's probably what he's going to look to do. Okay, so Oakie, I saw he was looking at that Cooper's Hawk in his hand last turn, and he has just gone for the Rodent. So I think he's kind of looking at the bonus card, his Large Bird Specialist. I think that's the final one to kind of get him over the edge there. So he'll look to play that, which I don't mind. It is a little bit late. It's only a few points, but I think when you take the bonus card into account, I think certainly you can make a case for it. And
it helps him discard.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it does. You're right. It does help him. Extend that forest out. He's probably got more birds in his hand than he would be looking to play at this point. So, being able to discard and get a bit of extra food. Certainly, if you're looking to play something like the Gallinule that does need those 3 food, I think that's always a good option to have. So I don't mind that.
It breaks even.
It does, yes. It does, just about. Yeah, so again, Tay-Ray skipping the tuck. I wonder the Avocet again. It's another one of these nice birds that if he'd picked up, maybe some point in round 2, he could have looked at getting the food for that and playing it, because again, when you see your opponent build up this kind of grasslands that scores lots of points, they're going to want to lay eggs, and if you can have pink powers like the Avocet to get a bit of free egg, then that's always nice to have.
I mean, it's still a good bird right now.
It is. It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is still 6 points, and it is still potentially some free eggs. So yeah, Tay-Ray might still look to play it, but I think the kind of priority for him is probably to try and get this Goshawk down. But there we go.
The immediate one.
Bit of free food. Always nice on the vulture. So yeah,
I see he's going for the worm.
He is indeed. So I'll be interested to see how he plays this out. But we've got Elsie in the chat asking who's going to win. It's a tricky one. It kind of felt like a very promising start for both players. Certainly I think Oakie had a really promising start, and it has kind of slowed down a little bit. I think just maybe in this round 3, some of the kind of maybe a turn drawing cards, or maybe that Warbler. I don't know, if they'd drawn a better bonus card, it could potentially have been worth it. I think really it's about getting this grassland set up for that last round, because they want to be laying eggs as many times as possible, and just trying to maximize that.
On the other end, do you think this Goshawk was worth it? for Tay? Like it's a lot of points and all, but
I
do you
think so. I think it was, yeah, because it's 6 points after you've paid the eggs, but then you get an extra 3 for tying the end of round. So it's 9 points for no food. I think you can be happy with that.
I mean, in this situation, playing it, of course, is worth it.
Yeah.
But I mean, keeping it from all the way back there.
Yeah.
And compromising other stuff just for this,
Yeah, I don't think he's compromised too much other stuff, purely because he's not really found much else that's been worth playing. If he'd gone through the deck and found something else, you tuck the Goshawk and you keep the better card that you found. I think that's probably what Tay would have been planning this whole time, but that better card just never came. And so actually I think having the Goshawk there as that kind of plan B, I can at least score some points and maybe help with the end of round. I don't mind it. I think it's it helps clear out a bit of egg space as well on the Blackbird, and that's really the more immediate problem I think for Tay-ray right now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite a difficult one to call though. I think I think it does kind of look like obviously Oakie's going to have a much nicer final round. I think it's a lot more straightforward. Play some of these birds. He's looks like he's gone for the cherry to get this Gallineal down. So I think he is kind of conscious of the egg space to clear up a bit of space there. But yeah, there's a lot of options. He's still looking at this Cooper's Hawk. He's kind of looking at the Gallineal again. Maybe the Swift is going to go down and get some extra tuck cards that way. So plenty of options to consider. And yeah, I hope he can pick the right one.
What do you think Tay is keeping the crow for?
I was wondering if he's going to play it.
Where would you play it if you were him?
I mean, I'd probably play it in the wetlands, to be honest. It's so late. It's tricky. It helps with the bonus card. He's he's still going to be 1 short, which is a problem. But he's already filling up on the Blackbird, so you kind of think of it as free food because you wouldn't be getting the eggs anyway if you weren't discarding them, because that Blackbird is full. So
that's true.
It still kind of works that way it clears out the egg space, but also you're generating a bit of food. So I think he kind of has to gamble here. Not many turns left. He can spend probably 3 turns drawing cards. He's still going to score lots of points through the tuck cards, but he kind of needs some nice big point bird, hopefully that meets the bonus card that he can play and score a lot of points.
He needs another blue-winged warbler.
I think he does, yeah. Or some kind of bonus card giving bird, like Bell's Vireo, something like that. That's kind of probably what he's looking for.
He already tucked that away, but yeah.
Oh, did he? Oh,
yeah.
I've not been paying enough attention to all of the stuff he's been picking up then.
Ooh, yeah. I guess Oakie's not going to play the Swallow then.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if he's going to play the White-throated Swift, because at this point, I don't think you need necessarily the card cycle from the Swallow. You need to turn these cards you've got into points. So I'm a little bit surprised that he
didn't keep Worm.
Keep the Worm, because he's got this extra seed, and you can easily get more seeds from the Tauhi. I think he's very much kind of hung up on this Cooper's Hawk. He's seen it as a bird that's going to beat the bonus card, but I think at this point you want to just be laying eggs and try and score points that way.
Even if he doesn't play the Swift, he can just keep laying eggs and spending that grain. Yeah.
So
pretty good.
Good pickup for Tay-ray, I think. There they found the Snowy Owl. That's going to help the Bird Bander and get an extra bonus card. So I think that's pretty straightforward. So they did discard an egg to get an extra card. So I think that's kind of signaling they are going to keep the Snowy Owl. They still got 2 more turns. They can use those eggs on the other 2 turns to get the rodents to pay for the Snowy Owl. So a little bit of a weird kind of end game, I think, this for Tay-ray, but it's working out. I think this is kind of the best that they could have done. It feels like they've not really found the cards. Lots of card draw obviously through this Wetlands engine, but maybe just haven't found what they've been looking for. But maybe a nice pull on the bonus card from the Snowy Owl. Maybe they get Rodentologist or something like that, and they might still have a chance. But this certainly feels like a very close game, and it's going to be a difficult one to call.
Yeah.
All right, so we do in fact see that Cooper's Hawk go down. So, yeah, Oakie, they'll be happy to meet that bonus card, but I don't know.
But at what cost?
At what cost? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, now the end game is straightforward. They just lay eggs. I think they've got the space for it. If they start, they've got that extra food, so they can discard. And then obviously they get a seed back that they can then discard
So
the next turn.
5, right?
Yes. So they get 5 eggs, and then they get the potentially one from the Harrier as well. So I don't think that's bad. 5 or 6 points. I think you take
19,
that.
that's pretty good.
I think you take that, and they're not gonna fill up entirely on the eggs, which they might have done if they hadn't played that Cooper's Hawk. So maybe it's not such a bad play. Yeah, Raven got tucked there. Did Elsie point out in the chat that I think that always feels nice. I mean, obviously late in the game you're never going to play it, but that's kind of a little satisfying thing to get the opportunity to do, because normally you kind of see that and you want to play it straight away, but probably a bit late.
The unfortunate thing about European expansion is it makes Raven still really good, because you have bird banter, rodentologist, and omnivore is just a really good bonus card bird.
Yeah, and I think it works quite well with a few of the new powers. So some of these bird powers that let you discard any extra food at the end of the round. We've got one in the tray, the European collared dove. You can discard food and get tuck cards that way. So
it's never too late for a Raven.
Exactly. It's never too late to get that down, and you're discarding eggs, but you're getting 2 food, and if you can turn each of those 2 food into a point, then you're scoring points even just on its own from that Raven. So that's always nice. That was good timing, I think, for the vulture there for Tay-ray. So they managed to get that second rodent for the snowy owl, which is good. That will just save them. That'll save them 1 egg. They won't have to activate the crow on this penultimate turn. So a small thing, but this feels like it could be a close game. So maybe something like that 1 point that they're going to save from that egg, that could come into play here and make a difference. And certainly, Tay-ray, they basically got this final end of round goal pretty locked down. I think they're only going to end up with 1 bird that does have eggs on it, and obviously all the rest are not going to have any eggs. So it's an interesting end of round. Certainly makes it difficult to run that kind of grass and engine that Okie's doing.
Sets of eggs followed by
no eggs, and having it as the last end of round goal as well. I've had this in a few games where you have that, birds with no eggs, and you have Eulogist or something like that as your bonus card, where you need to have lots of eggs, and it's very conflicting. You got the end of round goals and the bonus cards and everything trying to tell you to do different things.
Sometimes you just go with the lower tier of it and get through.
Yes, I have had to do that. I have had to do that before, just to at least qualify. Because if you miss out on that last end of round goal, that's 4 points you're giving away, and you don't really want to do that if you can avoid it. So
loss mitigating a little bit. Like 1 or 2.
Exactly.
Points.
Yeah, you kind of give up 3 points so you can gain 4. But again, I think in games like this where it's pretty close, that 1 point can make all the difference. So Oakie is kind of thinking hard here about whether to activate this hunting power in the Harrier. So obviously again it is going to give the free food. Now we know it doesn't make a difference for Tay-ray, but it's obviously playing on his mind of, well, if I give him that extra food and if he can play another bird because of it, that's not something you want to be doing. So he does.
Maybe it's because he saw that horned owl at one point.
Yes.
But if he checked that Tay-ray was skipping his American Crow and didn't need to skip it, then he would.
Yeah,
and it's see that.
Exactly. It's little things like that. Ooh, that's not a good pull on the bonus card, unfortunately. But you're right. It's little things like that where just paying attention to see what your opponent does. Okay, they skip the crow. They clearly don't need extra food. They've got everything they need. Again, by not activating that Harrier, maybe they miss out on a point. So, but yeah, Viticulturalist, not a great bonus card in this situation. Ordinarily, I really like it. I think if they'd started with that bonus card, with the Flycatcher, that was the first bird they played, so you're already off to a good start. And then none of the other birds they played, unfortunately, are going to meet
Snowy
that.
Owl was still really safe though, because it's engine at 6 points, right?
Yeah.
And the Snowy Owl is technically 5 points minus the egg from the American crow,
Right.
and then obviously plus the egg. So it's just, it goes back to that
Yeah.
4 points.
Yeah.
So it's just one less for a risk.
Yeah, and it meets the bonus cards, so it gets some extra points there. But here we go.
So super worth it.
Into the scores, and I think Tay-ray has probably just about done enough. I think with all these tuck cards at the end, I think he will take this. But we know Oakie is going to have a lead in eggs, and there we go. So he does sneak ahead there, but this is where Tay-ray is going to come back. And what was I saying about it being a close game? Tay-ray absolutely smashing out of the park with 102 points. So very, very well played. And
well played.
Yeah, I think getting that wetland set up, like we said at the start of the game, just being able to see lots of cards and tuck lots of cards as well and get points that way is so nice. So yeah, this is useful for me, I think, because next time that Tay-ray criticizes the Mute Swan, I can just show him this game back and be like, what were you saying about the Mute Swan? Are you sure it's not that good of a card?
It's really good.
I like it. I like it for sure. It's, very well played. And as I said, this is a best of 3 match. So Tay-ray does have an advantage now with that first win. But this game is far from over. We will go into a game 2. And I believe we are changing over.
Yeah.
On the
so I'll be back if
we have a game 3.
If Okie's back, basically. But
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me, Heartseed. And I believe subbing in for you is Elsie, if you are there, Elsie.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Okay, have fun, guys.
Excellent timing.
I missed my cue once, and I've learned my lesson.
Yeah, you can't leave us hanging. That's a big no-no. So.
Well, I was watching it on YouTube, and the stream delay was significant, and I was late by like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that does happen. But no, you're right on time this time, and I think we're probably ready to go. I'll just check in with the players. But yeah, how did you see that first game? What were your thoughts on that one?
I always undervalue tucks. I think it's like I didn't have the game on full screen, so I couldn't actually see the numbers counting up on Tay's side. But I was with you. I thought it was going to be very close, and then boom, 30-point difference. You know?
I think going into that final round, I think it had potential to be really close, and I think I was kind of looking at Oakie's setup, and if they'd maybe played the Grackle or the Swift or something and got lots more tuck cards and obviously all the eggs, I think that could have been potentially strong, but it was the egg space was always going to be the problem. And like you say, I think particularly with the Mute Swan, it spreads out the tucks, so you have a small number of tucks on a lot of cards all across your wetlands. And so you think, oh, there's like 5 tucks there and 6 tucks there. You don't really think about it, but they do add up. And like you say, you don't really notice it until you see the scores and all of those tuck cards start adding up at the end. That's when it really sort of hits home.
Yeah. Gotta explain how math works again.
Yeah, it's always a tricky one. But yeah, here we go into game 2. And since Oakie started game 1, we have Tay-ray going first in this game 2. So let's see what Tay-ray is going to start with. We've got the Great Crested Flycatcher back in the tray this time. So, but some very different cards in the hand. So, yeah. I
have not seen the Falcon.
Have
before.
You not? It's an interesting one.
That's unique.
Yeah, I bad-mouthed it when we talked about it in the boot camp series that we did.
What haven't you bad-mouthed?
Indigo bunting, of course.
Oh my gosh.
But no, I don't know. It's a weird bird because these hunting powers are generally not great. But since I said all of that, I've had it come up in a few games, and I found myself playing it more often than not. Because it's 6 points for 2 food. That's pretty good. And if you activate it enough, you maybe get 1 or 2 free eggs from it. I think that's pretty good. And again, getting eggs in the wetlands, I think that's always nice when you can get eggs kind of away from the grass and habitat. So particularly if you compare it with like Rodentologist or Falconer bonus card and obviously get those extra couple of points. I think it has potential. If you rely on it as your only egg source, you might struggle. But I think if you can kind of take it at face value and look at it something like a burrowing owl. You get the base points, and then if you get some successes along the way, that's a bonus. I think that's kind of the way you look at it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it would probably be helpful to tempo too as well, right?
Yeah, certainly.
Especially early game.
Exactly. Yeah, if you can get a few free eggs, and not have to activate your grasslands, that's nice.
Do you usually keep Yellowhammer if it's in your starting hand?
Well, that was the next point I was going to come on to. It's tricky. These birds, like the Yellowhammer that let you play an extra bird, if you can use them to their full potential, they are so powerful because you're basically getting 4 free turns to play birds, and they're always going to score you points. So it's kind of a no-brainer in that sense, but they require a lot of careful planning because you have to make sure you're using all of the actions every round so that you can actually use that power. And I think certainly I find sometimes in the late game you maybe are better off just laying eggs depending on how you set your things up. But if you set things up right in a way that you can score points by taking all the actions, then it certainly has potential to score a lot of points.
There's a lot of potential tempo savers in Tay's starting hand, but you're not saving the tempo for anything,
No, I mean certainly, the Wren I think is a really good keep. Just getting a couple of cards while also playing a bird helps with the bonus card they've got. It helps with 3 of the end of round goals potentially. So
well, that's a boring start. Oakie's got all base.
Yeah. Well, I think they had that in the first game as well. They didn't have any interesting birds. Yeah. They didn't have any, and they didn't have any expansion birds. So we probably need to convince them that they are actually playing with the European expansion. Otherwise, they might not believe us. But it's not a bad start. The yellow throat again. It's like the Magants that they had in game 1. Just getting that extra card draw is really good. And the kite is not a bad option. And then obviously that black-chinned hummingbird, I wouldn't be surprised if they keep that as well. So I think there's some good options here.
What's the first end of round goal?
It's birds in 1 row. So it's all about getting as many birds as you can in the same habitat. Which for a first end of round is quite tricky. Normally you might only have 1 or 2. You're unlikely to have 3. So I wouldn't be surprised if these 2... They probably both get 2 birds down and end up tying. That's normally how this kind of end of round goal plays out in the first round at least.
So if you're Tay, I'm assuming Tay's gonna drop the Wren first turn.
Yeah,
probably.
I would imagine.
Would you take the red-shouldered hawk?
I don't think so, because I think if he was going to take, I think he might be looking at the flycatcher. I think if you were going to take the hawk, and I think if you were going to keep the hawk, if you're going to play the hawk, you would have kept a rodent. So you play the Wren with one of your food, you keep a rodent for the other one, then you can lay eggs and get it down straight away. I think I like the flycatcher. It worked quite well for them in the last game. Like you say, it helps the bonus card. It's going to help again a few of these end of round goals. So I think you play the Wren, you use the cherry, you pick up the flycatcher, and then on your next turn you can go for the cherry and the feeder, and start getting this forest built up. Because if you are going to run Yellowhammer, you need lots of food because that's extra birds you're playing, and quite often when you're using that, you're playing these big point birds that eat a lot of food. So I think getting lots of food generation is quite important for that. So I think that would make sense for Tay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about this white-throated swift here for Oakie.
No food generation.
I think.
I mean, Oakie doesn't seem sure about it either. To be fair.
No.
But.
No, I mean, I'm curious what his plan is, because he's kept a fish, and there's no birds in sight that eat fish. So whether it's just a kind of, I'll keep it in case, maybe I find another nice wetland bird. And normally those eat fish.
I think it's more of a planning on brute forcing something.
I don't know. I think when you had 2 food generating birds, or a food generator and something that could go in the forest to help, I would have kept one of them over the swift. I don't. I said it in game 1. I like these tucking birds a lot more in the European expansion because I find that you do have to spend more turns drawing cards to find what you need, and so being able to turn those excess cards that you have into points using something like the Swift is nice, but yeah, I don't know if I like it that much that I would keep it in this situation over something like the Black-chinned Hummingbird that is at least going to help get you a bit of food.
Yeah, it's a risky start when there's no food generation.
Yeah, and I mean, you compare that to what Tay is going to have now with this flycatcher going down, getting 3 food in a single turn. And, you know, a couple of pretty decent wetland birds. Certainly that Whipping Crane is very flexible with the food cost, so I think Tay can easily look at getting that down alongside the Falcon. But yeah, certainly, you know, good options for them to quickly get a wetland set up, and that's really what their priority is going to have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, not so surprising for Oakie. I think it is just going to have to be, you know, go for the deck, and they're probably looking for a nuthatch or something like that. Again, the kind of cheap birds. Yeah, I don't know. I am surprised with the fish. I think if anything, you keep the rodent and go for the hawk and just kind of, you know, maybe hope that it's still there. And obviously we see that it is still there. So I don't know. Maybe it pays off. Yeah. Okay. Well, you definitely don't need the white-throated Swift if you're gonna pick up a bush.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really what they're looking for.
Now what?
Exactly. Yeah.
Mute swan. Mute swan. Mute swan.
Yeah, that's probably what they. That's what they want. But really, you need that kind of horned lark. That's not going to help.
Well, they have extra cards. It might help.
Yeah.
A little bit, maybe.
I don't know.
They get it down really early.
Yeah, I am surprised they've not taken the hawk. I think what they did at first was right. You know, you gamble from the deck, but I think you kind of wait and see. If you save that last card to pick up. If you haven't picked up anything good, then you go for the hawk. I mean, they probably will still go for cards again next turn anyway. They still got 1 egg on the yellow throat to discard, so that wouldn't surprise me too much. But yeah, I think they desperately need a forest bird, and you know, there's rodents in the feeder. They can easily pick up a rodent and get this hawk down. So I don't think that would be a bad move at all if Oakie chooses to do that.
Do you see the short-toed tree creeper and the bush tit as being a potential forest engine?
It's a weird one for sure.
It's a weird one, yeah.
I mean, if you add, you know, maybe the Gallinule as well, because it's going to take a lot of cards, right? You're going to need to tuck cards, and then you're going to need extra eggs from somewhere because you need an egg to play the bird, but then you need an egg to discard from the tree creeper. So, yeah, I don't know. I think the tree creeper is really tricky. Yeah, we saw it come up for Oakie in the last game. I think it works when you have lots of eggs, which they had in the previous game. So if you know, maybe they play the Swift and the bush tit in the grasslands, and you get 5 eggs a turn. I think that's where you can start using something like the tree creeper, because you know, first of all, you're getting lots of eggs, so you're able to use it. But also, you're getting so many eggs that you're going to fill up, and actually, you want something that you can discard eggs for and turn them into something. And I think the tree creeper, you know, with a good card generation at the moment with the yellow throat, and again maybe something like the Gallinule, I think he could potentially make that work. But yeah, it's going to need a lot of eggs, I think, and at the moment it certainly doesn't look like he can quite get enough access for that. Yeah,
tree creeper and wood duck would be an interesting one. Again, with the egg issues, but
exactly. I think
thought tree creeper, that you're right, would work better as like a secondary part of a grassland engine.
Yeah.
Rather than a forest engine. I've been thinking about it wrong.
I think it works if you have something like Pelleted Woodpecker, because that's going to get you extra eggs. So that gets you 2 eggs at a time. So I've never had the chance to try that out, but I think that could be potentially a good combo. You know, you're getting eggs and are able to play extra birds all at the same time. That's always a nice option to have. But here we go. We've got the bush tit in the wetlands. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a bit of a gamble, I think.
I think so.
I think Oakie might have seen what Tay did last game and is attempting to hoping that they'll get something to help them replicate it. But
yeah, I mean, I don't mind
it. Wetland is
I don't mind it.
I don't mind it either.
I think it you know, like it was for Tay in the last game, they're able to see cards but score points at the same time. So you can spend a few more turns than you normally would, kind of digging through the deck because you know that you're going to get a few points along the way. But yeah, again, I mean, it just comes back to this food generation point. I think they are going to struggle a little bit in terms of just being able to get food because they've not got any food at the moment. And you know, even the cheapest forest birds like that red-shouldered hawk are going to cost a food. So that's one turn to pick up the food and then play the bird. So yeah, potentially a little bit slow, but you know, maybe they get something nice from the deck. I think that's probably what they're going to have to go for here.
That sapsucker.
If they picked that up a little bit earlier, I think they could have looked to get that down. But you know, now that's 2 food, and there's a worm in the feeder, but there's no cherry, so that's really, really tricky to you know, you're gambling on a reroll trying to get that down. I don't know. This is looking tricky, I think, for Oakie at the moment.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
I think of the 2,
awkward card order, nothing's really working together.
Yeah. I think of the 2 setups, I certainly like Tay's setup a lot more. You know, he can quite comfortably go for food, which is what I imagine he's going to do, and then get this whooping crane down. And suddenly you've got
yellow hammer.
A couple of oh, that's true actually. Well, I don't know. He's not got enough turns, so that's the thing. He can't use the yellow hammer this first round because he'd have to play it and then draw cards because he still hasn't drawn cards. So I think the yellow hammer will probably wait.
Yeah.
I mean, he might play it in the forest. You know, maybe he goes for food and plays the yellow hammer in the forest because if that's going to win you the end of round, over Oakie, obviously at the moment they're both tied at 2, which is kind of what I expected. But you know, if you can play that, it helps again with getting a bit of extra food, but it's kind of falling into the same position that Tay had last game, where you've got a nice forest and a nice wetlands, but then nothing in that grasslands. And you are going to have to lay eggs if you use the yellow hammer, and you kind of look at those next 2 end of round goals where you're going to need lots of eggs. That's going to be tricky if he can't find the engine birds.
What's your opinion on the red-legged egg cannon?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. The partridge, 3 food for 1 point is a big investment. If you can maximize it and get all the eggs, because you get 3 eggs a time potentially when you use that. So it's really strong. In Oakie's position now, it's not going to work because 3 seeds, I don't know where he's going to get those from. That's just going to be so difficult for Oakie to kind of magic out of thin air. You know, last game where he had the Tauhi with all those 3 seeds, it would have worked, I think, potentially. But I'm not sure how that's going to work for him this game.
Badly. That's how it's going.
Badly, yeah. So Tay,
it's rough to watch this.
Yeah, for Tay, I think he is going to get this whooping crane down. So he did manage to get the 3 food, which is nice. He's got 1 seed, which I imagine he's going to keep because you know that yellow hammer is probably going to go down pretty quickly, I think, in the second round, because I think even if you can get 3 activations from it, I think that's still worth it. You know, I think 2 or 3 is good. Obviously 4 is ideal, but really, really tricky to do. But yeah, I think that would still be pretty good for Tay. I don't think that would be too bad of a return if he can manage that.
No, not at all. You play it in the grasslands then, just to get something there.
I think so.
Whoa.
Accidentally looking at the help screen. Ooh. Okay. Yeah. They're both good bonus cards. Obviously, they don't work with what he's got at the moment. But you know, maybe
they're both niche bonus cards.
They are. But you know, I think a tucking bird, if he can get something, even for the wetlands or the forest. I mean, sort of wetlands or the grassland, I think that would be pretty good. That's probably what he's looking for. So, I think he can spend a little bit of time going for cards and see what you can get. Ooh, now we've got the blue throat. I like the blue throat. So, this is another new expansion bird. So this allows the player to pick a food type, and then every player gets one of those. So it's a bit like a hummingbird or a bit like a phoebe, and that it's going to give everyone food. But you get to pick what food you want. So I think it's quite powerful. You know, I think 7 points. I think if you look for Tay as well, it's going to help with this bonus card. 7 points. He can easily grab the food he needs to play that. It goes in the grasslands. I think that makes sense.
And then it becomes a huge help to Oakie, who
It
is
does.
foods.
It does.
Oakie is starving right
but
now.
you can be selective. You can be selective in whether you choose to activate it or not. So, I think that'd be a good pickup for Tay. Now, what I think is a good pickup for Oakie is that Eurasian Sparrowhawk that is sat right there in the tray. Now, I hope he's just being patient and he's going to pick up with that yellow throat. But this is one of those birds where you don't have to pay the food cost. You can instead pay with tuck cards. And what does Oakie have loads of? Cards. What does he have none of? Food. This is like tailor-made for him right now.
Is it tuck card or play over top of?
It's the tuck card one. Yeah. So
I thought the play over, I thought the tuck cards had asterisks.
they do. So you can see on the rodent in the food costs for the Sparrowhawk, it's got the little asterisk. So you can ignore the rodent. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
it's not showing up on my end.
Thank you, Oakie. I think in the tray you can't see it, but if you look on Oakie's perspective,
there it is.
you can see it. So,
That's so weird. Okay.
that's a really good pickup for Oakie. But the
Oh,
crow,
crow and blue throat.
yeah, now we're talking. Now we are talking.
Ooh.
So, I don't know. If I'm Tay-ray, I might be looking at both of those and putting them both in the grasslands. I think that works quite nicely as a little double. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's thinking what I'm
I
thinking.
think they kept the wrong food.
Yeah, I was surprised.
They were going for the yellow hammer.
Yeah, I was surprised that he didn't keep the seed. And if he did keep the seed, he would maybe have been able to get these down a little bit easier. But still with
the
that
crow's
crow.
wild.
Exactly. You can play. I think he could play the crow first, and then lay eggs, and then get whatever food he needs for the blue throat. But
Yeah.
this is looking really good for Tay-ray right now. They're gonna have a lot of bird points. They're gonna have a really strong access to food and eggs and cards, and I'm starting to wonder if they still need to play this yellow hammer. I mean, I think it still works, but they got to think about this round, and they've already spent a couple of turns drawing cards. That only leaves them 5 more turns. You've got to gain food, you've got to play birds, you've got to lay eggs. You've got to think about turn sequence. And this is where the kind of very situational needs of the yellow hammer, it comes quite difficult to work with. But I would be really interested to see it played, because I think it's a very interesting bird. So I hope Tay-ray does find a way to play it and make it work.
Could you potentially use the yellow throat to play the blue throat?
I think you could. So
especially because there's no worms in the feeder and there are 2 grain.
Exactly. There's no worms. I mean, I think the issue for Tay-ray is that they can't take those 2 seeds because they need to be able to re-roll to get a worm from the flycatcher.
Oh, true.
So I think if you're Tay-ray, you take cherry and fish and re-roll and hope you get a worm, and then you look to play the crow, you lay eggs, and then you get the seed, and then you have the food for the blue throat. But then you think about how many turns that is. That's like 4 turns. Does that leave you enough turns to then play the yellow hammer, and then you don't have any cards left? He's going to need to think carefully about this. I don't think this is straightforward at all in terms of the right sequence, but I think he needs to.
You got to get the graph paper out. For this
exactly. I think you got to weigh up, because there's 2 routes you go down. You do what I just suggested, where you focus on getting this crow and blue throat down, or or you ignore everything because you just blind pulled a Franklin's Gulf from the deck.
Oh, things just got complicated.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think things got a lot easier because now the decision.
Do you ignore the flamingo?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think you can make the flamingo work as well as the Franklin's goal.
Okay.
Because the flamingo is going to be potentially quite strong against what Oakie's got set up. He is going to be drawing cards a lot. But on its own,
Oakie needed the flamingo.
Oakie, well, I don't
actually. Wait, no, that's the action cube one.
Yeah, exactly. So the flamingo is the one where you get 1 tuck for each activation of the wetlands that your opponent has done. So against a strong wetland engine, it's really, really good. But yeah, I don't think it's going to work here for Tay. I think the goal's straightforward. You can go for food. There's already a fish there. You can play the goal. You can use the extra food you've got to play the American crow, and then the blue throat is going to follow not too long after that one. So yeah, pretty straightforward, and I think unfortunately it's going to see the end of the Yellowhammer because
Goodbye.
yeah, that doesn't tend to work too well with the gull, because when you've got the gull you don't really want to be drawing cards because you can get cards so easily from the grasslands, but it might still work. It might still work.
That work with Yellowhammer?
Well, because the Yellowhammer you need to take every kind of action, right? So if you're going to activate it, you need to draw cards, and if you're drawing cards and not scoring points, compared to if you could lay eggs and score points while also getting cards, then it's not quite as good. But
pitch the Yellowhammer.
I think so. Yeah,
that was a huge gamble from Tay.
It was. I was surprised to see him go for cards there. I thought he would really prioritise getting the food and trying to get these birds down. But I mean, it's clearly paid off when you find a card like the Franklin Skull.
Just sitting there, like psychic readings over the top of the deck.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious what is going through Oakie's head right now, because he's thinking very long and hard about what card he's going to tuck under the Sparrowhawk. Now, I don't think he's got many...
He's got a lot of options.
Well, he has, but I don't think he's got so many amazing cards that you want to keep all of them. You know, I'm probably looking at that Golden Eye and thinking, I don't know, if that's going to win you the end of round, maybe, but I don't know. I think the Cuckoo, he probably is expecting that Cuckoo to be useful because obviously he doesn't know about the Gull, but he knows about the Crow and the Blue Throat. So I think he's fully expecting on those to go in the grasslands,
and he's expecting it to work as well.
Yeah, I think, and that's why he's picked up the Cuckoo. So yeah, I don't know. I think probably
I'd chuck the egg cannon, honestly.
Ooh.
Oh,
I'm surprised at that, considering he picked it up.
Yeah, he literally. Okay.
Yeah, I think I would. I think I'd agree. I think I'd probably get rid of the partridge. I don't see it working. Yeah. I don't see how it's gonna play into this because the food generation is just so weak. And you know, by the time they try and get it down, it's probably going to be round 3, heading into late round 3, and then how many activations are you going to get out of it to make it worthwhile? You know, I don't think they really need to focus on the grasslands. I think if they can get this ring-billed gull in the wetlands, they can get tuck cards, and obviously they're going to get eggs from the bush tit as well. So they could probably kind of ignore the grasslands at least for a little bit, because obviously the bush tit's going to help for the end of rounds. That's got them somewhat sorted for those. But yeah, I'm not too sure about that.
So Tay is elected to play the Crow first.
Yeah,
rather than taking food, Franklin's Crow.
I think the problem was he didn't have eggs, right? So he was going to have to play one of them and then lay eggs at some point. So I think he wants to try and get these down in enough time to win the end of round. So I mean, he can still go for food, and I would kind of expect him to. Obviously, that fish has gone, but he could still use the Crow. I don't think that's too big of a deal. Yeah, I think he's
out of turns.
I think he's okay, right? You can pick up food. That's one turn. You lay eggs second turn. You play the gull third turn. You lay eggs fourth turn, and then he's got 3 cavity nests. So as long as he makes sure that he's got the eggs in the right space, I think he's probably okay. You might have to skip the powers if you are going to play it that way, but yeah. I mean, obviously he could lay eggs twice here. You just go eggs. That gives you 2 food from the Crow, and then you play the gull that way. That might get you 1 extra egg.
I just forgot how to count.
Yeah, that would do it. I am surprised that the Crow's gone down. I would have maybe tried to get the Blue Throat down, because that saves you the egg. It still gets you that 1 food, because the problem now is that if he is laying eggs, he only gets 1, because he's gonna have to discard with the Crow. So he will have to think carefully about that. So I don't think that's exactly how I would have done that, but it still works. I think he could still make this work in terms of here we go. So he's going to go for food.
Oh, no fishy.
No fish, but he is. Yeah, well, he has to lay eggs anyway, so he can use the Crow. Or
is he trying to get the Blue Throat down?
Potentially, I think he's at least trying to get some of the food for the Blue Throat. So I would be going I'd be going cherry and seed here, and then you pick up a worm. Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now,
Yep.
I think you lay eggs, you get a fish with the crow, you then play the Franklin's goal, and then you lay eggs, and then that's going to give you the food, I think, to play the blue throat at the start of that third round, and also help you win this second end of round goal. So I think that's probably what Tay-ray's trying to do here.
Yeah, makes sense. I feel like we need to check in on oakie, but nothing has changed since the last time we started talking about his board.
Well, I'm trying to work out what he's trying to do. So I'd imagine
Survive.
I'd imagine this ring build goal kind of has to go down. But I think he's looking at this golden eye. Yeah, he's picked up the food for the golden eye. I mean, it's not bad, because he is going to have 2 other cavity nests, so it's going to get him 2 eggs at least per round. And then maybe if he's going to get maybe the swift and the bluebird as well, that's a couple more cavity nests. So it's not bad, but I don't know. I don't think I would be centering everything around that. I think there are other kind of priorities. Yeah, maybe he's going to try and get the what is it? The food generating, the sapsucker that he's got in his hand. I think he needs something, because at the moment he's still only getting 2 food. And I think if you can not only get down a brown power that gets you extra food, but actually, it's just that 3rd forest bird, so you can discard cards. And Okie's getting loads of cards at the moment. You can easily chuck some of those, and if you can get 3 or 4 food a turn, that puts him in a much better position compared to 2 at the moment. So I think that's probably what Oakie needs to prioritize. But yeah, I do worry if he is going to try and play this golden eye or not.
Yeah. Whose turn is it?
It is Tay-ray's turn.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if he is still thinking about the yellow hammer, because he keeps looking at it. Yeah.
Pitch the yellow hammer.
So he's discarding food. No, I think he is. I think he's calculating how much food, or how many eggs he needs rather, for the end of round. So obviously, if he plays the gull, he's going to be left with 1 egg. And then if he lays eggs, he gets 3, but then he has to discard 2 if he's going to activate both the powers. So I guess he can play it by ear. At the moment he is going to win that with those 3 birds. But it depends what Oakie does. I think he is going to get down a cavity nest, and it is the golden eye. So yeah, it's not bad. It does get that 2nd cavity nest bird with the eggs without having to actually take the lay eggs action, which I think Oakie probably wants to avoid where possible. So obviously they only get 2 for it.
But he's going to need to lay eggs anyway to get an egg on the barn owl.
Well, yeah, it depends if he is going to go for that. I don't know. I think it might help if it is going to tie him the end of round, but I think I probably still would have prioritized. He could have played the sapsucker and then laid eggs and put 1 on each of those 2 birds. You still tie, you get the extra food. But I don't know. It's not a bad play. I think the golden eye, I think it does still work. It's still early enough. I think these round end powers, if you can get 3 activations, like we were talking about with the yellow hammer, I think that's a good kind of benchmark to aim for. So not bad by any means, but yeah, potentially going for the food, which he is kind of still in a little bit short supply from, might have worked out better.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, the goal does go down, and yeah, like I said, I think I would imagine that Tay-ray is gonna skip 1 of the powers. Oh, don't lay it on the golden eye, Oakie. You're gonna get the 3 eggs anyway. You don't need to do that.
No.
I think that was a case of forgetting what the round end power does, because you do get that activation on the end of round goal, on the end of round power before the end of round goal. So you would get the 3 eggs that would count towards that. But yeah, it's one of those easy little things that you forget about. Oh, well that would do. That's probably better than the. I don't know. Is it better than the blue throat? Doesn't work with the bonus card, but he can get it down right away. So it has that advantage. And yeah, it depends how much he wants to kind of egg spam or food spam against Oakie. So I don't know.
I think against Oakie, the hummingbird is more useful for Tay.
Yeah.
Even though it's less points, it's less helpful.
Look at that tray.
Oh.
So first
What's the
of all,
moorhen do?
Well, the moorhen, it's like the tree creeper, but for the wetlands. So you get to discard food and play an extra bird if you do. So
Okay, so ignore that. Got
For
it.
Tay, it's not going to work. But there's killdeer. I mean, the killdeer is going to be picked up for a denial, but that Dick Thistle is perfect. It works with the bonus
Yeah,
card.
it is.
It helps, tuck some of these extra cards that Tay-ray is going to be picking up with the goal. So, yeah, absolute no-brainer to go for that. Get that down as soon as possible. I think you kind of drop everything else. I mean, maybe the hummingbird still works. I think you could maybe play the hummingbird, and then when you lay eggs, you get 2 food back. So you could still play the Dick Thistle. That's potentially what I would
He's
look
not
to
getting
do.
any points from the grasslands.
Well, that's the thing. Right now he isn't.
Well,
But I think once that Dick Thistle goes down, that's the key, because that's 2 points in activation. He's going to have so many cards that's not really going to be a problem for him. That kind of feels like a no-brainer to me to get that down as soon as possible.
yeah. I don't know. I think I would still do the hummingbird after that, depending on.
Well, I think I'd do it before. I think I'd play the hummingbird now, because you look at the feeder. There's 2 seeds, right?
Oh yeah.
So you play the hummingbird with, doesn't matter. You pick up a seed with the hummingbird, and then you get whatever else you need with the crow. That lets you get down the Dick Thistle, and then suddenly you got four grassland birds, and they're going to generate you points and food and cards. Like, you're basically set. I think Tay-ray can just kind of cycle through that, run that grasslands for the rest of the game, and then hopefully get some more big point birds. Something like the bald eagle in the tray, or something that's going to help with the viticulturalist bonus card. I think that's really what they're going to have to be looking to play.
Well, Oakie has just picked up the bald eagle.
He has indeed.
And the Savannah Sparrow.
Yeah, so he's really going all in on these double birds. He's already got the one of the bluebirds, I think, for the grasslands. So that'll be interesting to see how that's going to work out. I'm not sure.
We're going to get like a 5-bird play.
Yeah.
In round 4.
I mean, I'm trying to work out what he's going to double play. Maybe maybe the Swift.
Well, that's the thing is he's got the 2.
Yeah.
He's got the 2 double birds, but because all of his points are so, all of them are so slow point birds, it might actually be cheaper to not play them.
Right.
That happened to me one time, and I was horribly embarrassed.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think if it takes you too long, too many turns to get the food for it, and then you kind of get rid of all the eggs, and you're not scoring points from it, it's a little bit of a tricky one. But I don't know. He might be able to make it work.
Oh, we forgot about viticulturalist and throat.
Oh, well.
Just pointed out.
Yeah, I didn't forget about it. I think it.
You were just ignoring it.
I was ignoring it. I think potentially it's still. But see, I don't think Tay-ray. I think Tay-ray's going to prioritize getting the. Why are you going for a worm? I think he's going to go for the Dick Thistle. I think if you. There were kind of 2 options. You either lay eggs and get the Dick Thistle and maximize the number of turns using that, or you play the hummingbirds and get those 2 foods. I don't know. I mean, now he's done this. What? What is he doing? I'm so confused.
Utter indignation. I love it.
But why? I don't know what he needs those 2 worms for. I'm really not sure what he's doing.
He's got the Cerulean Warbler, which he could be looking to play, or he could have misremembered what the Dick Thistle's cost was.
It's right there. It tells you what it is when you hover over it, and he's done it enough times. What else has he got? There's another grassland bird in his hand. I can't see what it is. He's got so many cards now that you can't even work out what they all are.
What it is? A 1 point, not from EE. Oi, what?
I have no idea.
I can't think of it.
I didn't see it when you picked it up, so.
Keep going.
No, wrong way. We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah.
No.
Oh no!
That was painful. That hurt to see. What I don't know what either player is doing right now. I'm very confused.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure what food Oakie is going for to try and get down. But that's not a bad pickup. Pathologist.
Called it.
That's pretty straightforward.
A warbler.
Oh, what? I'm so confused by Tay-ray. He must be going for food, right? He must be trying to pick up food now and then doing like. Would he? I don't think he'd even have enough food to do blue throat and Dick Thistle. I don't even know. I don't know why you'd go for food now. You could have got down the grasslands a whole lot quicker. I think this feels really, really slow, and you're not going to get as many activations from the Dixisal by kind of delayed. Oh, it's the killdeer, of course. That's the other bird. Yeah, he's not going to play that.
Yeah. It's
What's he doing?
there's a C word coming to mind.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he's probably going to be okay because I keep looking back at Oki and I'm thinking, where's the points coming from? You know, he needs to magic a grasslands out of nowhere, and sure, that's kind of where the double birds come into play. But I don't know. He's not going to play the partridge, is he? He's looking at it. He might be doing like Eastern bluebird into partridge or something like that, but I'm not convinced that's going to work too well.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the reroll that he was hoping for. If he's going to try and get down the Dixisal, because there's 0 seeds right there.
Yeah.
Oof, well, just barely getting the.
Oh, there's the seeds.
There's all the seeds, but like, what now? What do you go for? Do you go for food again? Like, this doesn't make sense. He's got such a nice grasslands. You want to be using that as much as possible. You don't want to be like faffing about, spending turns, going from the bird feeder. Like, that's just such a waste.
I would love to like hear Tay's reaction live to all of this.
Oh, it's fine.
He rewatches our commentary.
Yeah, oh, he will. He will. Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind talking about Tay in this way because I know he'll take it he'll take it good natured. But yes. I am still just very confused about what he's doing here because it just doesn't make any sense to me. Oh well, maybe he can explain it. He'll explain what was going through his head, and try and justify it somehow. All right, so indeed, Oki does go for the bluebird partridge double play. So
playing the partridge on top of a tuck and lay is awkward.
It is. I mean, I don't.
Just overall,
I don't
awkward.
think they're going to get that much usage out of it because, like you say, it's going to fill up pretty quickly, but it's going to fill up that sparrowhawk as well. Only 2 spaces, so I think he can probably lay eggs a couple of times here. But yeah, it's going to be tricky in that final round because he's not going to have a whole lot of egg space left to be able to lay eggs. So I think he is going to kind of have to go for the drawing cards, maybe go for some big point birds and try and get those down. But certainly that grasslands it's quite limited in how many times he can use that, I think.
Yeah. I think, honestly, he sort of need one of the play on top of birds. Like, maybe the red kite or something, and just get rid of that yellow throat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think he needs to think carefully about how many birds he's going to play because he has still got this zoologist that he needs to max out. So you need a couple more birds for that. I'm assuming the bald eagle's going to go down because he has got the food for that. It's obviously a lot of points, which is nice. But
and there's a fish.
And there's a fish, so you at least get something from it. But yeah.
Other than 9 points.
Other than 9 points, yeah.
It's rough. Like, I mean, I don't think Tay has blown it entirely, but I am with you that I do not agree. Like, I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when you have gull crow, like you just use that and then suddenly you have these extra food generators. So you had the blue throat as an option, you had the hummingbird. And then as soon as he got that Dixis, or like that is the priority. You want to get that down as soon as possible so that you can get as many turns using it. You know, Tay is going to have loads and loads of cards left over at the end of the game. Every one of those cards is a missed opportunity that could have been tucked to get another tuck card and more eggs. So I think, you know, he's going to lay eggs here and then play the Dixisal at the start of round 4. That is just not giving you enough time to make usage out of it. I think he could have got this down like 3 or 4 turns ago. And got way more usage out of it. I don't know why he spent time playing that warbler and then going for food. I don't think that was worth it for me.
Someone's just pointed out that Tay has the luxury to choke on the second game.
Well, I don't think you.
Since he won the first.
I don't think you do. There's so much
You
uncertainty in
don't.
Wingspan.
You don't want to, obviously.
No, because if you choke game 2, you're going to be going into game 3 not feeling very confident. Your opponent's going to be feeling good because they just won, and anything can happen. Maybe your opponent gets a Franklin's goal or something like that, and suddenly you're out. So you can't be relaxed at any time in a tournament game like this. Even if it's best of 3, even if you're one game up, you got to put it to bed. And and it does feel like there are some misplays here, but I don't know. I feel like even through misplaying, just the kind of the strength of this engine that Tay-ray is eventually going to have set up, feels like it should be enough to get him over the line.
Once Tay actually gets around to using it.
Exactly. Now he picks up the woodpecker on the last turn of that third round. So I think he's kind of looking at this.
You gotta be more specific, man.
Well, the one that he's got
There's
right.
like 6.
Okay, well, this is the one you can see. It's the one at the end of his hand.
Too.
So I think he's kind of looking at that as it works with the viticulturalist, but then as well, this final end of round is actually one of those few end of round goals that it does work with. So I think he's kind of looking at that as play that, you get 2 birds in one essentially for the end of round goal. So
It's a double AOR.
Exactly. So that's going to be his final. It's going to be his final viticulturist bird, and if that can help, with the end of round goal as well, then all the better.
Yeah. Why is the Dick Sissel still not down?
Well, it's going to go down now. I think it has to go down this first turn. He's got the food for it.
He's only going to use it 3 times.
Yeah, I'd be very confused.
It's just a waste. You're right.
I think he could have got maybe 5 or 6 activations if he'd played it earlier. But yeah, certainly to only get 3 activations late in the game, it's still nice. It's still going to get points, but yeah, I think it could have got more points.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that he was gonna fill it up, but
nope, not with the goal.
With the crow and the goal,
exactly.
Yeah,
you're fine. And he's got loads of egg space.
Understand.
He's going to be left with so much egg space at the end of this game as well that he could have potentially filled up.
Yeah. One thing I will say that isn't like super important about E, but that I've noticed is that there's a lot more birds with more egg space. Like, there's a lot more stick space birds.
Yeah, there are quite a few. Obviously, the blue throat we can see that's got a lot of egg space.
The partridge.
I think there's quite a few forest birds as well that have 5 or 6 egg spaces. So
the tree creeper.
Yeah, it does definitely help from that perspective.
Yeah. So they're giving you options like the European expansion makes wetland engines a lot stronger, I think. Yeah. But they're also giving you more options if you do want to run the traditional grassland.
Yeah. Okay.
And then there's the forest engines.
Now I'm kind of curious about what Tay's doing because they skipped both the food powers, so I would assume they're still going to look to play the woodpecker. It helps actually with the ethologist as well, so that'll get a couple more points. I just wonder, maybe are they kind of delaying a little bit? I think that's quite smart if that is what they're doing. Give your opponent the food as late as possible. Give them as little time as possible to make use of it. If you give them the food now, they might be able to play a bird that one turn sooner, which can often make a difference.
Starve them out.
Now, this is quite tricky for Oakie, I think. I think the Swift, normally pretty good. Actually, they had it in the last game, and I think it would have been a good play there, but they're just going to fill up an egg space really, really quickly. I think they're already full on the bush tit, or nearly full, and on that sparrowhawk as well, so the partridge, you're not going to get much usage out of that. But then you've got that golden eye as well, so that, round end power is going to basically not be used because you're full on eggs, which is a bit of a shame. So that's where the double bird I think would have come in handy with the Savannah Sparrow, but you just didn't have the food to make the most of it.
Would Oakie maybe be trying to get down the turkey to open up some egg space?
I don't know. I think if he was, he would have gone for food and looked to play it because he did overpay a bit on that white-throated Swift. So
did he?
Yeah, I think he paid like a fish and a grain or something instead of a worm.
Mm.
So yeah, I think he just has to lay eggs. I don't think it makes sense to try and get food and play a bird at this point. You know, you played the Swift, you may as well use it and tuck some of these cards, but he's gonna fill up on egg space like really easily here, and you know, miss out on some of these eggs on the partridge, but then also on the golden eye, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah. That's rough.
Yeah.
Just things were not working out for Oakie this game.
No, and that's kind of the issue with the partridge. I mean, you know, I wasn't sure about whether playing it was the right call when it did go down, because it gives you so many eggs, and you know, you mentioned it as well with the bush tit. You're already getting eggs there, so makes it quite difficult if you're already filling up on eggs. And then again, something like the Swift, it gives you even more eggs. So I think it was always going to overflow a little bit, which yeah, is frustrating. And, you know, obviously Oakie is going to score a lot of egg points. I think that's probably where the bulk of their points are going to come from, because, you know, you look at some of these birds, they've got the golden eye, the Swift, the partridge, bush tip, blue throat, yellow throat. You know, they're all pretty low points. Obviously, the eagle is the big one that's scoring a lot of points, but that's kind of it. That's really going to have to be, the eggs is where the points are going to come from. But, you know, you kind of look at Tay-ray, certainly scored well in the bonus cards, and a few big point birds as well have gone down. So if they can win this last end of round goal, which I think is what they're going to try and do with this woodpecker, then yeah, that puts them in a very strong position.
Yet another reason that Tay should have played the Dick Sissel sooner was they have the tucking cards bonus card.
Yeah, well, I mean, you get the points for that regardless of when it's played. But
yes,
yeah,
but you want to make sure.
You want to make sure, and he's got loads of egg space, so I think he could have, you know, he could have afforded, instead of gaining food a couple of times, he could have spent those turns laying eggs. You know, we've already seen he's had to skip these food gaining powers a couple of times, so I don't think he was ever going to be short on food, in that sense. So yeah, I think, you know, I don't know, the way he's played this final round, considering where he was, is probably how I would have played it. But I think certainly there are a few mistakes in that third round, just not getting that Dick Sissel down as soon as he could have done.
Yeah.
All right.
So if you're Tay here, do you keep using the blue throat instead of the crow, even though you're helping your opponent?
Yeah, because I mean, you're not really helping them that much. If you're giving them a food, yeah, well, you give them a food, they can turn that into an egg, so they get a point. But you saved yourself a point by not having to discard an egg. So, you know, effectively, it doesn't make a difference in that sense. And that's kind of
true.
That's worst case scenario, assuming they can actually use that food for eggs anyway. So, I would have been using the blue throat there and skipping the crow, but yeah, they'll be able to get this woodpecker down. That's nice. Helps with the 2 of the bonus cards, and obviously kind of snipes that final end of round goal, which is always nice. So yeah. Again, yeah, we had it in the first game with the mute swan that Tay has said some things about, and this woodpecker as well. He wasn't a big fan of that when we reviewed it, but here we go, he's playing it. So again, when he says bad things about this woodpecker, I'll just point into this game and tell him that it's clearly a good enough bird to play.
There's a place for
everyone. Well, that was a lot closer.
So Oakie just... Wow.
That was a lot closer than I thought.
I am impressed with Oakie.
Yeah, Tay is a lucky boy, because he misplayed a lot, I think, at the end of that game. And to get away with squeaking it by a point. Damn, all those eggs, like I said, 31 eggs. And painfully close.
Oh my gosh.
Painfully close for Oakie. So, yeah, really well played. That's so weird that the first game, I was convinced it was going to be really close, and then it wasn't. And then this second game, I thought it was going to be a complete blowout, and then it's really close.
We cannot do math, everybody.
Cannot. No, commentator curse, always the way. But
yep.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know. Do you think we've ever had a video where all the games get called correctly? Because I don't think we have.
No, I know I had. I know there was one. I think Chop was playing, and it was in like third round or something, and I was like, oh, he's going to score 120. Like, called it in round 3, and then he got exactly 120. So I felt pretty good about that. But yeah, that's kind of the exception rather than the rule, I think.
Yes.
All right.
Well,
Well, good.
Let's
good
bring
games.
Tay back in and see what happened.
Yes, I will just.
If you don't, yeah.
I will just check. But they're happy to
See
do
if
that.
they're available to talk.
Yeah. But yeah, certainly a couple of interesting games, and yeah, really,
And some
really,
interesting choices.
some interesting decisions, some interesting plays for sure. We'll fill it like that. All right, I think Tay-ray is happy to come back in, so I will. Oh, he's already been unmuted and undeafened, so. All right, hello, Tay-ray. That was a very, very close game. That second one.
That was so close.
Yeah. What were you doing?
I mean, I was
Specifically
really
about round 3.
Yeah, you took a long time to get that Dick Sizzle down.
Yes, I did. I think I should have gotten it out earlier, and
yeah.
I wanted to get the blue throat out because of 7 points
The bonus
and
card, yeah,
and the bonus card, but the bird feeder was a little bit unfortunate. The row I didn't get the food I wanted.
But you've got the American crow. You don't need the bird feeder. You can get whatever food you want.
That is true. I was thinking like, I could get 4 food from the forest.
Yeah.
That might help to save me some tempo. I wasn't so sure about if that was the right decision to pick up food.
No, I think that did slow you down a little bit, but yeah, I mean, oakie, well played. I think in that second game particularly, we did not think it was going to be close, and I think certainly against the kind of crow and the girl that Tay-ray had got there, just all those eggs so close.
Yeah,
at
I
the
needed
end.
one more egg space at the end.
Exactly, that was the thing, and I think we kind of saw that. I think when you played the Swift and you were going to lay eggs for those last couple of turns. That partridge, if you can make the most of it, is really strong with the 3 eggs.
Yeah, that partridge was really good when I saw it down.
Yeah, I think it was just like you say, it was just missing that little bit of egg space at the end. So really close.
Well, I could have taken food and dropped the turkey down, and I thought about it.
Yeah. I think it made sense to go for the eggs though, because you did just about fill up, and obviously you got the tuck cards as well with the Swift, which was nice, and. Obviously the Oologist as well, being able to max that out, get a few extra points is good. But yeah, really,
my
really
first
close.
game was horrible. That first game was awful.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I agree with him.
Yeah, well, I thought it was going to be close.
It's okay. Agree with me. It was awful.
I mean, I basically had not much going for the first game until I found the mute swan. Obviously.
Yeah, you were just drawing cards and tucking cards and.
Yeah.
When I saw that in the tray, I really thought it was over.
Yeah.
Took the steam out of me.
Yeah. No.
I think I mean for the first game, what do you think about me throwing away the ringbill goal? Should I have played a ringbill goal?
Yeah. Because you didn't pick that up super early, did you?
Yeah, it was kind of late.
It was
I
kind
would
of
have
late.
need to pick up food to play it.
Yeah, it was kind of tricky because you wanted to play that the Goshawk. But you were drawing as many cards as you were tucking, so you were never getting enough cards left over to actually use it properly. So I think you kind of needed that extra wetland bird just to let you do that. But yeah, when that crow came up at the end, I was like, is it too late for the crow? But it made sense because you were going to fill up on eggs anyway, I think, from the
That's right.
From the blackbird. So getting you the food, you managed to find the snowy owl, so that worked out quite nicely.
Yeah. And for the second game, I think the bird that saved my game was the woodpecker at the end. I actually missed it when it was in the tray. It was until after I played Blue Throat that I saw it. I was like, oh, it actually worth a lot of points.
Yeah, I saw you picked it up on that final turn. So I said to Elsie that when we were reviewing those birds, you were like, oh, these birds are never useful. I don't think I'll ever play it. But now, whenever you say that, I could just point you to this game and prove you wrong. But no, two very good games, two very enjoyable games, and I think certainly showed off some of the good new birds that we've got in the European expansion. But obviously, congratulations to Tay-ray, who does go through to the next round.
Yeah, good job, Tay-ray.
Yeah, commiserations, Oakie. I think particularly that second game, you played very well. So absolutely no shame in that. But yeah, thank you for doing the stream, and obviously thank you to the viewers who've tuned in. So do join the Discord.
Thank
if
you
you're
for
not
the
part.
invite.
No worries. Thanks for doing this.
Always a
obviously.
thrill.
Yeah.
Always fun to play.
Yeah, and
Thanks for playing, Oakie.
Yeah, and hopefully fun to watch back as well. So
I don't think I've ever beaten you yet, Tay.
I think you have.
I think
you have. I remember.
I think I'm like 0-3 million against you or something.
We'll have to look at the stats afterwards.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap up the stream here. So thanks again for joining us, everyone. And yeah, we will see you again on the next live stream.